It's Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Trump meets with senators while Schumer flails wildly. Accountability finally in Cincinnati, and why I'm about to start digging a bunker and collecting seeds. Next on the AM Update.
This is the fourth week of the Democrat shutdown, but we are all here today because your Republican team in the Senate is unified. This is now the longest full shutdown in history, but everybody here has voted now 11 different times to open up the government.
There's Senate Majority Leader John Thune during a meeting with President Trump with Republican senators at the White House yesterday. Again, talking about the Democrat shutdown 11 times now. Democrats have had the opportunity to pass a clean continuing resolution, and they have struck it down every single time. Here is the lead instigator of this shutdown. Here is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer asked, hey, Senator John Thune has a deal on the table to negotiate the Affordable Care Act. Well, won't you take that deal?
The bottom line is that's no deal. That's a partisan plan that leaves the American people high and dry. And they've asked us for 45 days and 45 days and 45 days. When they say another 45 days, later to them means never. We have to get them to the table and negotiate with us now.
So that kind of lends credence. You heard his just aghast nature to that answer. Just totally aghast that you would want to renegotiate the Affordable Care Act. That kind of lends credence maybe a little bit to what I was talking about yesterday, that Democrats really don't want to reckon with the unaffordability of the Affordable Care Act. Trying to put a deal on the table. Hey, we'll renegotiate the ACA as long as you reopen the federal government. And Chuck Schumer says, nope, no deal. We want to keep hiding the true cost of the Affordable Care Act from the American people. Here's President Trump back at the White House.
From the beginning, our message has been very simple. We will not be extorted on this crazy plot of theirs. They've never done this before. Nobody has. You always vote for an extension. Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats need to vote for the clean, bipartisan CR and reopen our government. It's got to be reopened right now. We're not doing that. They are the obstructionists.
There's President Trump once again at the White House in the old Rose Garden, meeting with Republican senators. Meanwhile, in Israel.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you. Look, I think that we are 1 week into President Trump's historic peace plan in the Middle East, and things are going, frankly, better than I expected that they were.
Vice President J.D. Vance, along with envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. I don't know what title Jared Kushner has or why he's still involved with the White House, but he's there nonetheless, meeting in Israel in the ongoing ceasefire that was kind of on and off over the weekend. Vice President Vance continued to reassure Americans we're not going to get involved militarily.
I think it's important for Americans to know a couple of things. Number one, there are not going to be American boots on the ground in Gaza. The President of the United States has made that very clear. All of our military leadership has made that very clear. What we can do is provide some useful coordination. How do you take, the Gulf Arab states, plus Israel, plus plus the Turks, plus the Indonesians? How do you actually get those folks to work together in a way that actually produces long-term peace? The only real mediators are the United States of America.
There's Vice President J.D. Vance on the lack of need for American military support, but support in other ways as well. It seems like the administration is not freaking out over the turbulence we saw over the weekend. Back at home, the Department of Homeland Security announced Tuesday that an illegal alien target of an immigration operation was shot during an arrest attempt by federal agents in Los Angeles after he allegedly used his vehicle as a weapon against the agents. In a statement to media, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says the information was preliminary and the targeted suspect had previously evaded apprehension. McLaughlin placed blame for the increased attacks against federal agents on Democrats who have been calling the immigration raids immoral and illegal. Tensions in Los Angeles remain high, of course, as the Trump administration has doubled down on its efforts to deport illegals who are residing in sanctuary cities. During the No Kings protests over the weekend, maybe you saw this, anti-immigration and customs enforcement crowds formed near federal buildings in downtown Los Angeles as well as Portland, Oregon, and blocked entrances to those facilities as well. So, illegal alien shot by federal agents. Also saw a federal agent might have been the recipient of a ricochet in that attack as well. Nobody seriously injured. North Carolina and its state Senate, has passed the new 2026 congressional map, removing one Democrat seat and drawing a red seat endorsed by President Trump. Before this change, they had 10 Republican seats and 4 Democrat seats in North Carolina. Now it's 11 Republican, 3 Democrats. That's some good news. Any of these red state redistricting efforts are good news because there's been a bevy of polling, Gallup poll, I'll get to that in just a little bit, that's come out this week about party affiliation, midterm, generic ballot, things of that nature. None of that looking good for Republicans. And any given poll, that's polling, But taken as a whole, you want to, again, it's a midterm election in the second administration, the second term of an administration. Having a whiplash or a pendulum swinging back is not unexpected. But according to Gallup, back in quarter 3 of 2024, 47% of respondents identified as Republican compared to 46% of Democrats. Now in quarter 3 of 2025, 48% of respondents identify as Democrat, compared to 41% for Republicans. Again, that is the Gallup tracking poll. That's one of the most reliable tracking polls in terms of party affiliation, or at least identification, that is out there. Well, Texas Senator Ted Cruz was rightly, and I got in on this as well, the target of scorn and derision over his Diwali post, wishing on behalf of himself and his wife Heidi a happy Diwali to all Indians living in America and around the globe. Well, came out yesterday as well that he's been added to the list of Congress members whose phone records were subpoenaed as part of former special counsel Jack Smith's probes into President Trump and the January 6th protests. The records were ultimately not analyzed as AT&T, Cruz's service provider, did not comply with Smith's subpoena. Smith's subpoena requested records associated with Cruz's cell phone from January 4th through the 7th of 2021. Others are lawmakers, as we already learned, whose phone records were subpoenaed by Jack Smith's special counsel were GOP Senators Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, Josh Hawley of Missouri, Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, as well as GOP Congressman Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. So Ted Cruz getting caught up in the Jack Smith special counsel probe, quote-unquote probe. How about criminal enterprise? That sounds more accurate in my estimation. Meanwhile, however, in a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi on Tuesday, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan referred former CIA Director John Brennan to the Justice Department for allegedly making false statements to Congress. Jordan accused Brennan of lying during his 2023 Judiciary Committee testimony by denying that the CIA used the Steele dossier and prepping the 2017 intelligence community assessment on alleged Russian election interference, and falsely claiming the CIA opposed including the dossier. Of course, that dossier was the impetus for the Russian collusion hoax, which entire books and troves of information have been written about. I think John Brennan is a squealer. We shall see, though, as he is now referred to the Department of Justice for lying to Congress. Quickly, this before the break. Here's MSNBC's resident Islamunist Mehdi Hasan.
I think that if you can play church bells, you can pray the call to prayer. We are as American as anyone else, and don't take any BS from anyone.
So there is Mehdi Hasan, the Islamunist. If you can play your church bells, us Islamunists can play the Muslim call to prayer every morning. We're just as American as anybody else. What the heck does American even mean? Hey, you wanna play this logic out, Mehdi Hasan? Hey, we're just as American as anybody else. We can play the Islamic call to prayer every single morning if we want to, if you guys can use your church bells. Well, the we in that sentence, we can play the Islamic call to prayer every morning. The we in that sentence also sent the 2 planes in the Twin Towers and killed thousands of Americans. So, okay, logically, what are we allowed to do? Can we have another crusade, maybe? Hey, fair's fair. We want a crusade. We're just as American as anybody else. Your side got to send 2 of your planes into the World Trade Centers, killed thousands of people. Hey, fair's fair. We're just as American as anybody else. Let's just let this play out to its logical conclusion, Mehdi Hasan. Sounds like I chose the wrong line of work. We'll talk about that after the break. Some accountability in the Cincinnati Police Department. That is some good news. And why I'm about ready to build a bunker and start collecting seeds. That's coming up next. I chose the wrong line of work.
Paris prosecutor says that jewels stolen in that robbery at the Louvre were worth, or are worth, an estimated 88 million euros, or about $100 million.
That is the Sky News report from the French prosecutor's office detailing that jewel thief, or those jewel thieves we told you about yesterday, stole $100 million worth of really just priceless, although they're putting a price on it now. They said it was priceless. Well, that's about $100 million. Man, I just chose the wrong line of work. If you can just rent a ladder truck in Paris, climb on up to a second-story window, bust a few windows, and steal some priceless jewelry, and get away with it, seemingly? Man, I'm working way too hard over here. Back stateside, Cincinnati Police Department Chief Teresa Theach, who scolded people for sharing viral video of a massive downtown brawl, was placed on leave this week amid an internal investigation. In July, video footage emerged online capturing a massive brawl at Elm and 4th Streets in downtown Cincinnati, which showed a group of people violently attacking a man and a woman. According to WLWT5, a local affiliate of NBC, Theach has been placed on paid administrative leave pending an internal investigation on the effectiveness of her leadership in the Cincinnati Police Department. Just last week, Theach was seen on video scolding people coming downtown after 2 people were shot, saying, hey, if you come to Cincinnati, you need to learn how to behave. Especially if you come downtown, you have to learn how to behave. 2 people were shot, and her message was, learn how to behave. Not, we're going to get to the bottom of this, we're going to arrest everybody and put them in jail for life. No, you need to learn how to behave. So now Theach is on administrative leave. She makes over $200,000 a year. So that's some good news. How about this out of the state of Texas? This is a story from Texans for Strong Borders. Made me almost spontaneously combust when I saw this about a week ago, and I want to share it with you now. Story, again, courtesy of Texans for Strong Borders. Here's the headline. Texas man expelled from church for defending American values. Here's the story. Daniel Keene, a husband, father, and small business owner in Texas, recently found himself exiled, not from polite society, but from his own church. His crime? Daring to speak up about the consequences of mass legal immigration on American workers and families. When Keene posted online that he wanted his children to grow up in America, not India, he wasn't attacking anyone's race or religion. He's sounding the alarm about a system that allows corporations to flood our labor markets with cheap foreign workers while silencing any American who questions it. For that post, he was doxxed, harassed, and threatened. His cafe that he owned was targeted with fake reviews. His gym revoked his membership, and perhaps most disturbingly, his own church, the Trails Church in Salina, Texas, demanded that he quote-unquote repent for expressing a policy opinion shared by millions of patriotic Americans. After 7 hours of questioning by church elders, Keene was told he was on the path of discipline unless he confessed his sin, his so-called offense according to his church, believing that America should belong to Americans. Daniel Keene, according to Texans for Strong Borders, did not sin, and I agree with this, by expressing dismay for the transformative effects of even legal mass migration. He just told the truth. The Trail Church's decision to cast him out says far more about the weakness of its leaders than it does about Keene. Absolutely. I really appreciate organizations like Texans for Strong Borders calling out churches like that. It's not a sin to say that mass migration, even legal migration, is wrong. It's not a sin at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's righteousness. Borders are okay. It's okay to want strong borders. And finally, air analysis, slightly acidic, mostly necessary. Along those lines, I'm about ready to dig a bunker and start collecting seeds for crops and so on. Caleb Hammer, if you've heard that name before, maybe you haven't, he has a channel on YouTube called Financial Audit. And Caleb Hammer is the millennial Dave Ramsey, except he is much more mean. It's very entertaining, by the way. He is much more mean than Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey can be pretty on point, and that's necessary to smack people upside the head to get them to wake up to the reality of their financial situation. Well, millennials are far, on average, I don't want to do the whole boomer thing and throw my entire generation under the bus, but I would estimate on average, millennials need even more of a slap upside the head. And at some point in time, Caleb Hammer, who runs this YouTube channel, just decided to be their Huckleberry. He's going to be the guy to send his message to his generation. You have to have financial literacy in order to live in a civilized society. I've listened to several clips of people that he's had on his show, individuals he's had on his show, whose financial situations are just ridiculous. Financing trips to Taco Bell, I'm exaggerating, but that's the level of just ridiculous debt that some people have racked up. Millennials and Zoomers. Well, his interview this week might have broken me. He interviewed 2 illegal immigrants who live in this country, in Arizona and Phoenix. He didn't use their real names. Now, technically, they were dreamers. They were brought over here as children. They're both now in their early 30s. They are not married. It's a couple. It's a guy and a gal. They're not married. They have 3 children, but only one is one that they had together. The gal had 2 children with a previous husband. They range in age from 3 months to 17 years old. Now, this man makes pretty good money. He drives a forklift for a construction company. He's a carpenter, but drives a forklift primarily. He estimated he makes around, it ended up being 80 grand, 60 to 80 grand a year. That's not too bad. Phoenix is not the lowest cost of living place in the country, but that's not too bad. Going through their financials, Caleb Hammer, I think he was about broken as well. It was revealed they had this much bad debt. Bad debt meaning debt that is outside of your mortgage. Listen to this.
Well, you guys also have that. How much debt you guys have?
Yeah.
Over $100,000 of debt. That's not even the house. Literally. Wow. $130,000 of debt that is not the house.
$133,000 on top of like $260,000 that they owe on their house. And they're not in this country legally. I listened to that entire episode. How they are able to rack up that much debt, I don't know. Like Bella and I have some debt. It's some of it's what would be considered bad, but it's manageable. Very manageable. If we went into a car dealership, if we asked for a higher credit limit on our credit card, to the extent that these people are in debt, they're not even married. $133,000 in bad debt. If we asked for an extension to that much debt, we would be denied. We'd be laughed out of the room, laughed off the phone. And yet these illegal immigrants are able somehow to rack up that much debt. What were they spending it on? Well, according to them, they had some sort of pediatric ER visit, something like that. That was multi-thousands of dollars, something like that. $4,000 or maybe it was $8,000 on tickets to a Shakira concert. Thousands of dollars on a family trip to Miami so that they could watch Lionel Messi play soccer. Illegal immigrants. How are they going to pay off that debt? Answer, they're not. Do I need to connect the dots for you on why I want to dig a bunker, build a bunker, and start collecting seeds? Because I can't think that this is the only illegal alien couple in this country that's racking up this much bad debt. And who and what happens when a bunch of these types of people either get deported or they default on their debt, which is going to happen. Perhaps millions of them, if not many hundreds of thousands of them. Answer, crash, and maybe no rebuilding after that. I wish I had some good news for you this Wednesday morning. That just about crushed me. And to watch this interview, they both realize they have some sort of problem. Her, not nearly as much. She has no concept of money, time, thinking beyond the next week, nothing like that. He has some idea that they are spending more than they're making. Some idea of that, because he's the one actually out there in the heat of the summer driving a forklift. So he places more emphasis on that, but he's spent he just gave a sibling his credit card and just told her that to just use it as much as she wants to. So I mean, he's just as bad of an offender here. And ironically, that's maybe if we were living in better times, that's the type of hardworking immigrant that you would maybe want to have in a country like this. He makes like $31 an hour. There are no men born of this country who would love making $31 an hour driving a forklift. Really? None of them? None? And yet, an illegal immigrant gets that job. And with that job, making pretty good money, they get to rack up $133,000 in debt that they will probably never pay off. Suicidal stuff. Civilizational suicidal stuff. Yet, in Texas, Trails Church decided that Daniel Keene is in error and cast him out because he expressed concern that legal immigration, these dreamers are technically, not really, but technically legal, that I was just talking about on Caleb Hammer's show. Daniel Keene, this congregant at Trails Church, cast out of his church for expressing his belief that legal immigration maybe not such a great idea. That is bass backwards. Time to start building the bunkers. Happy Wednesday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.